The cut is the most widely used and most professional of the transition types. This is because it reinforces the invisible editing philosophy. Editing with simple cuts leads to a sequence where the editing itself is not apparent to the viewer. To support invisible editing, the cut must be made at the right time. The cut must be made to a shot that will bring new visual material or new information. Consider what would happen if two shots were edited in a sequence, where both shots presented similar visual information. In the mind of the viewer, the shots would appear to jump, and a visual discontinuity or glitch would be apparent. But by cutting from one shot to the next shot with different visual information, the viewer's mind is forced to search the frame for new details, and this mental engagement reduces the jump effect. But making cuts to shots with new information is not just a glitch avoidance mechanism, far from it. The purpose of every new shot is to add new information to the sequence, which was not previously there. Every shot must present new information. The editor must figure out if all the necessary information has been shown, what information needs to be shown next, and what motivating element needs to be focused on. The production team must be careful to plan and film in such a way so as to not lock the editor into having to put together footage which exhibits any jump effects. The production crew will provide footage of shots that are in motion and also shots that are static. Sometimes the motion shots will begin and end on a static frame, and sometimes they will not. When cutting from a static to a motion shot or vice versa, the potential will exist for a visual crash to occur or a jump effect. This will not always be the case, but it is important to consider the effect that may occur. The production team should provide pans, tilts, or dolly shots that are in motion, but that begin and end on a static frame. This will ensure that the editor will have the greatest amount of choice and ability to remove any jump effect that may occur. In addition, the motion of a shot will have a particular direction. If the shot is panning towards the left, it is motivated towards the left. If the editor then cuts to another moving shot, but one that is panning to the right, then the motivation is not continued. This will result in a discontinuity or a visual crash. The cut point must maintain its invisible editing effect, so therefore, it shouldn't be centered between opposing motions. When editing dialogue, it can be tempting to edit the sequence to show the characters only when they speak, and not when they react to speech. Editing according to dialogue, or providing screen time to the current person that is speaking, is normal. However, if the scene has a lot of dialogue, it can become predictable and boring. From time to time, it can be a good practice to surprise the audience by showing them the character from the listener's perspective. Showing the audience the character's reaction as they listen to the dialogue can break the flow of the editing and make it more dynamic, and it can also add new depth to the scene. The editor's job is to put together a video sequence that looks and feels professional. In order to accomplish this, the editor chooses to remove takes which are either flawed technically or which the actors have not performed their best. Let's look at an example of how the editor can proceed to resolve acting issues. For example, in editing sequences of video, it becomes apparent that the actors will occasionally pause in between sentences, or they will insert a few ums and ahs. There's no general editing rule that must apply, but there are two guidelines to take note of. Generally, in documentary editing, the goal is to make the presenter sound as legitimate and as professional as possible. This means that the goal of the editor is to polish the speech. This can be done by removing pauses or by removing unprofessional sounds such as ums and ahs. These type of sounds could be indicative of poor public speaking skills or of having a tough time remembering the subject matter. However, during other types of editing, such as film editing, what to edit out is not really immediately apparent. The film actors practice for many hours. Many times, their pauses and vocalizations are well rehearsed, calculated, and presented for emotional effect. In this instance, the pauses may need to be left there in order to maintain the intended emotional effect.